So I'm charismatic, as you probably know, and one of my biggest complaints in the charismatic church is either A, people don't believe the Bible, like literally they just don't even believe it's true, or B, they suck at it and they just cannot interpret scripture for the life of them. And one example I'd like to give that's kind of current is in the midst of all this public correction that's coming to church leaders. I mean, the Lord himself is rebuking them. In the midst of that, I'm seeing a lot of commenters online saying things like, let he who's without sin cast the first stone. And what they're doing is they're taking a literal passage of scripture that's talking about the woman who was caught in adultery. And under the Old Testament, if they were found in adultery, you would take large rocks and you would throw them at them until they died. And they're taking that passage of scripture and they're turning it into a metaphor, which is not good biblical exegesis. That passage of scripture is absolutely not, nor should it ever be, interpreted metaphorically. That passage of scripture is a literal passage of scripture. They were going to take large literal stones and take them and throw them literally at a lady until she died. So let's be very clear. People who are saying those things are manipulating you into thinking that you are like the Pharisees by publicly exposing sin, by publicly rebuking leaders who are preying on people. They're manipulating you, demonically manipulating you to not publicly correct because they don't want that. That'll cost them money. And so, or a career path, which, look at, I'm not saying leaders who are caught in some form of sin should immediately have their whole careers destroyed. I get it. I'm a pastor's kid. I understand that people who aren't in church leadership they're not in the mindset that they don't understand. I get that. Nevertheless, if you're preying on people, creating victims, that's a whole lot different than if you're having some kind of struggle, with something, and you shouldn't have a struggle with anything, of course, but, people do. But that's preying on people, creating victims, sexual abuse, stuff like that. That's not the same. So I just want to be clear, publicly exposing these things or the fact that people are pretending to be prophets when they're not, and that's my final word on that. Some people are pretending to be prophets. They're not prophets at all. They're for profit, but they're not prophets. They're non-profits. Nevertheless, publicly exposing them is not murdering or throwing stones.